The vast blackness of space stretched endlessly in every direction, broken only by the looming presence of the alien warship, a sleek vessel bristling with weaponry and bearing the unmistakable emblem of the Xerthians. Inside, the Xerthian commander observed the blue-green planet below with a mixture of scorn and boredom. Earth, their latest conquest, was deemed primitive, its inhabitants fragile, barely sentient beings compared to the sophisticated Xerthian race. With a dismissive gesture, the commander turned to his subordinates. "This planet's inhabitants are weak," he declared, his tone laced with smug assurance. "Look at them, primitive technologies, disjointed civilizations, barely any cohesion. They'll flee as soon as they see our forces, as they should. Fear will be our most effective weapon." The commander's confidence was deeply rooted in the Xerthian culture, a civilization that prided itself on domination. The Xerthians had swept across star systems, subjugating countless worlds, reducing each to either obedient colonies or barren wastes. They saw themselves as rightful rulers, their technology unmatched, their tactical prowess flawless. Other species had crumbled before them, unable to withstand the Xerthians' psychological warfare. It was rare that they even needed to engage in full-scale battle. The terror their reputation induced was often enough to secure victory without resistance. In their eyes, humanity was no different, perhaps even weaker than the average species they encountered. Their studies had shown humanity's violent history, wars that spanned millennia, political divisions, and an apparent lack of order. To the Xerthians, it painted a picture of a chaotic, disorganized species with no hope of mounting any real defense. This assumption, however, was based on arrogance, not understanding. "Humanity is trapped in its own primitive chaos," the commander mused aloud, almost as if reassuring himself. "They fight each other over petty boundaries and beliefs. They won't stand together against us. A few displays of our power, and they'll fall in line. No need for a full assault. We can take this world with minimal force." The other Xerthians nodded, absorbing his words with the same confidence. They finalized their invasion plans with an air of casual indifference. It was a simple, low show-of-force approach, a display of strength in the atmosphere, a swift descent to Earth's surface, and a straightforward announcement of their new rule. This method had been effective across dozens of worlds. They expected Earth to be no different. "We'll land in a populated center, a capital," one officer suggested. "Our translators will broadcast our message of control. Let them see our ships and understand resistance is futile." "Perfect," the commander replied. "They'll surrender without a second thought. The humans' history of disarray shows they lack unity. This will be over quickly." As the warship crept closer, Earth's early warning systems triggered a sudden alert across military networks. Radar stations and satellites picked up an unfamiliar, massive object breaching Earth's atmosphere, a vessel larger than any known aircraft, moving with unhurried confidence. Human command centers scrambled to analyze the unexpected arrival. Officers exchanged anxious glances as screens filled with data on the approaching ship. News of the mysterious object in the sky spread rapidly. Media networks reported on the unidentified ship, sharing grainy images and speculative commentary. Civilian eyewitnesses posted photos and videos online, igniting a storm of confusion, fear, and curiosity. But in that same chaos, a sense of unity and purpose began to emerge. Governments held emergency meetings, military forces were placed on high alert, and ordinary people gathered in streets and homes, awaiting any updates. For the Xerthians, this response was just a hint of the panic they'd anticipated. They were unaware, however, that this fear was only one side of humanity's reaction. Beneath it, something unexpected was brewing, an undercurrent of defiance, a quiet but growing resolve that was far from the anticipated terror that the Xerthians so relied upon. As Earth braced for the unknown, the Xerthians remained arrogantly certain that humanity was about to bow before them, a fragile species on the brink of submission. What they failed to see was that Earth was preparing, not to surrender, but to stand firm in the face of an otherworldly force. The Xerthians descended upon Earth, the landing craft slipping through the atmosphere with an eerie silence. As they touched down, a fleet of imposing figures disembarked, clad in armor that shimmered ominously under Earth's sunlight. Without delay, a booming, translated message echoed across cities worldwide, demanding Earth's unconditional surrender. The voice spoke of peaceful control, offering protection in exchange for loyalty. The Xerthians promised a life of order and obedience, with the thinly veiled threat of destruction should humanity resist. The response was immediate, but not what the Xerthians expected. Earth's military forces were already on high alert, quickly mobilizing to face this new threat head-on. Rather than panic and submission, humans showed resilience. Soldiers, police, and emergency responders rallied together, their resolve evident in their movements. Civilians, too, displayed a surprising tenacity. They did not flee or scatter. Instead, they gathered in defiance, showing no fear despite the staggering technology of the Xerthians. In city squares, on rooftops, and behind screens, people watched, prepared for whatever was to come. Meanwhile, military leaders and heads of state coordinated, establishing lines of communication that spanned countries and continents. Government officials spoke with calm assurance, urging unity and resilience. They advised the public to stand strong and warned that these invaders were a threat not just to any one nation but to humanity itself. Across the globe, people listened, not with fear, but with determination, a new solidarity forming in response to this alien force. Citizens set up local resistance groups, sharing strategies and tactics online. Information spread rapidly, with ordinary people stepping up as leaders, guiding neighbors, friends, and even strangers. The world did not descend into chaos, it organized. People came together with a shared purpose, their actions driven by an instinct to protect and resist rather than to surrender. The Xerthians, watching from their crafts, could not believe their senses. The humans' response defied every prediction. Far from the anticipated panic and disarray, they witnessed an organized, coordinated opposition. The commander was taken aback, unable to reconcile this reality with the chaotic species profile they had gathered. Still, they pressed forward, confident in their technological superiority. However, humanity had something beyond raw power, a unique cunning and adaptability. Military units engaged in guerrilla-style warfare against the invaders, taking advantage of Earth's diverse landscapes. Armies and resistance groups used the forests, mountains, and urban sprawls to their advantage, engaging the Xerthians in unpredictable ways. Traps and ambushes sprung up across the Xerthians' path. Makeshift weapons and improvised explosives took down critical supply lines. Human forces remained elusive, blending into their surroundings and striking with surgical precision before disappearing again. The Xerthians struggled to understand this method of warfare, their strategies ill-suited to such adaptability. Used to enemies who quaked in fear or fought in straight lines, they were baffled by humanity's unorthodox methods. Earth's people refused to follow the rules of traditional warfare. Xerthian sensors, advanced as they were, could not keep pace with this guerrilla approach. The invaders' overwhelming firepower was rendered useless when they could not locate their targets or predict their movements. The tides began to shift further when the Xerthians discovered the real power of human communication. Nations coordinated in real time, transmitting tactical updates and sharing intelligence across vast distances in seconds. Soldiers, hackers, and engineers worked in tandem, passing critical information on Xerthian weaknesses to resistance fighters on the ground. Humanity's ability to coordinate, adapt, and instantly share information across languages and borders became their greatest asset. With every failed assault, the Xerthians grew more frustrated, their once perfect plans unraveling. What they had perceived as human weaknesses, chaos, division, unpredictability, had become humanity's strength. Every time they recalibrated, humanity had already adjusted, finding new ways to disrupt, confuse, and push back against the invaders. The commander, watching the unraveling situation, began to realize the error of their assumptions. Humanity's refusal to submit was no accident. It was a fundamental part of who they were. As the Xerthians advanced, they found themselves in a relentless battle of wits against a species that would not be conquered, a planet that had become a maze of resistance at every turn. The very systems the Xerthians relied on were disrupted, hacked, or jammed by humans who used every tool at their disposal, from improvised technology to sheer ingenuity. With every setback, every adaptation, humanity proved they were not a species to be underestimated. The Xerthians, faced with this unyielding resistance, began to see Earth not as a prize but as an indomitable force they hadn't foreseen. After facing unexpected resistance and devastating losses, the Xerthian commander realized that Earth would not fall easily. Deciding to end the conflict decisively, he ordered the deployment of their most powerful weapon, a device capable of massive, planetary devastation. He expected that this final display of force would break human resolve. Yet, as news of the weapon's activation spread, humanity responded not with despair, but with a fierce determination. Soldiers, civilians, and leaders alike steeled themselves, knowing they had no choice but to stand their ground. Human forces mobilized for a direct confrontation, rallying together in one last stand. Fighter jets, warships, and ground units converged toward the Xerthian ship's location. Engineers and scientists worked tirelessly, assembling last-minute defenses and countermeasures. Civilians volunteered in droves, helping wherever they could. Every weapon, every piece of technology, even rudimentary ones, was repurposed in an all-out effort to strike back. Humanity's fierce resilience shone as they united in purpose, defying every expectation the Xerthians held. As the alien weapon charged, Earth's forces launched their offensive. Pilots maneuvered their jets in complex patterns, outpacing the Xerthian weapon systems, while ground forces deployed powerful anti-aircraft batteries and EMP devices designed to scramble the ship's defenses. With creativity and courage, humans mounted a coordinated strike, forcing the Xerthians to redirect power and resources to protect their warship. Each move was calculated, each sacrifice deliberate, pushing the Xerthians to the brink. The turning point came as a group of elite human engineers managed to breach the Xerthians' communications network. By deciphering their alien technology, they transmitted false information to the alien warship, confusing and slowing the Xerthian systems. At the same time, a specialized strike team launched an assault on a critical section of the Xerthian ship, targeting the weapon's main power source. Years of human resourcefulness had trained them to think on their feet, and they adapted in ways the Xerthians couldn't anticipate. The commander watched in disbelief as his warship's systems began to fail. Human forces had found and exploited weaknesses that the Xerthians hadn't even realized existed. Internal systems were compromised, defensive weapons faltered, and the ship's shields began to flicker. The mighty vessel, once a symbol of Xerthian power, now struggled to maintain control. In a desperate attempt to regain stability, the commander ordered a retreat, but it was too late. Humanity's unrelenting assault had crippled the Xerthian arsenal, rendering their last-ditch effort useless. Throughout this climactic battle, scenes of bravery and sacrifice unfolded across Earth. Soldiers held their ground against the seemingly indomitable Xerthian forces, pushing back with every ounce of strength they had. Scientists, hackers, and civilians joined the fight in any way they could, forming a powerful wave of resistance that was as creative as it was formidable. Humanity's shared determination drove each person to contribute, creating a vast, coordinated effort that the Xerthians had neither anticipated nor could withstand. Seeing the irreparable damage to his ship, the Xerthian commander ordered an immediate withdrawal. Humbled and shaken, he could no longer deny that he had misjudged the humans. They were not the fragile, primitive species he had expected. Instead, he had faced a united force whose courage, ingenuity, and unbreakable spirit had not only withstood but had defeated the Xerthians. As the warship began its retreat, the commander pondered humanity's resilience and adaptability. They had fought not just for survival, but for each other, with a fierce loyalty that defied all logic. As the Xerthian ship disappeared from the skies, Earth erupted in relief and triumph. People gathered in cities and towns to celebrate, not just the victory over an alien force, but the unity that had brought them together. Humanity had proved to itself and to the universe that it would not bow to intimidation or overwhelming odds. In their shared victory, the people of Earth knew they were stronger, more united, and better prepared for any future threat. Back on his ship, The Zerthian commander reflected on the humans with a newfound respect, even fear. He realized that the universe was not as predictable as he had believed and that humanity, a species he once deemed inferior, had shown him the true meaning of strength. This encounter would forever change the Zerthians' approach, marking Earth as a planet not to be conquered but respected, a lesson written in the resilience of a species that refused to be broken.